I didn't know my wife was worth $17 billion. I know how that sounds. It sounds like I'm either the dumbest man alive or making this up. But if you had seen the way she lived, the way we lived, you wouldn't have known either. We had a normal house in a quiet suburb outside Denver. 4 bedrooms, beige siding, a basketball hoop in the driveway that I never used. I drove a 3-year-old Ford F-150. She drove a Volvo SUV with a cracked taillight she kept meaning to fix. Our weekends were Costco runs and Netflix. Nothing about our life screamed secret empire. Her name is Charlotte. We met in Chicago when we were both 27. I was in commercial construction management, stressed and always smelling faintly like drywall. She said she worked in private asset consulting. I remember joking that it sounded fake, like something you say when you don't want to explain what you actually do. She laughed but never elaborated. Charlotte was never flashy. No designer bags, no private jets, no suspicious late-night phone calls in another language. She kept an office downtown, but she worked from home a lot. She said most of her clients preferred discretion. I thought she meant rich families who didn't want neighbors knowing their business. We got married 3 years later in Napa. Her parents didn't attend. She told me they were estranged and preferred privacy. I'd never met them. That bothered my mom more than it bothered me. My mom has always had a radar for things not adding up. She asked questions Charlotte never fully answered. I brushed it off as my mom being territorial. Looking back, there were clues, subtle ones. The way she could wire 6 figures to a charity without blinking when we watched a documentary that made her emotional. The way she never stressed about money, even when my company went through layoffs and I was on edge for months. She told me we'd be fine, that I should take a risk and start my own firm if I wanted to. I thought she just believed in me. What I didn't realize was that fine meant something entirely different in her world. The first crack in everything happened on her 35th birthday. I'd planned a small party at our house, nothing crazy, close friends, my parents, a few neighbors. She said she didn't like big celebrations. I spent weeks organizing it because I wanted to do something special. I hired a private chef for the night, strung lights across the backyard, set up long wooden tables. It felt intimate and perfect. Charlotte looked incredible that night. She wore a simple black dress, her hair down, minimal makeup. She kept kissing me on the cheek, whispering thank you, like she was genuinely touched. I remember thinking I'd never loved her more. My mom showed up late. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the way she walked in, tight-lipped, jaw clenched, holding a large envelope like it was a weapon. I caught her in the foyer. "Mom, what's going on?" She didn't answer. She just looked past me at Charlotte, who was laughing with our neighbor by the kitchen island. Then my mom said quietly but sharp, "I need to speak to her, now." I felt my stomach drop. My mom can be dramatic, but there was something cold in her eyes I'd never seen before. We stepped into the dining room. Charlotte followed, confused but polite. My mom didn't sit down. She placed the envelope on the table and slid it toward Charlotte. "You've humiliated my son long enough," she said. I felt heat rush to my face. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Charlotte's expression changed. Not panicked, not angry, just still. "These are divorce papers," my mom said, "filed this morning." The room felt like it tilted. I looked at Charlotte. "What is she talking about?" Charlotte didn't look at me. She looked at my mom. "You had no right," she said softly. "No right." My mom let out a bitter laugh. "You've been playing him for years." I grabbed the envelope, my hands shaking. My name was there, Charlotte's name, a filing stamp from the county courthouse. It was real. "Charlotte," my voice sounded foreign in my own ears, "tell me this isn't real." She finally looked at me, and I swear to God there were tears in her eyes. "I was going to tell you," she said. "When?" I snapped. "After you blindsided me with this." The music and laughter from the backyard felt miles away. I couldn't breathe. I felt stupid, exposed, like everyone outside somehow already knew. My mom crossed her arms. "Tell him about the money." I blinked. "What money?" Charlotte closed her eyes for a second like she was bracing herself. "James," she said, using my full name the way she only did when things were serious, "there are things about my life I didn't tell you." "No kidding." She inhaled slowly. "I own majority control of a global holding company." I stared at her. "What does that even mean?" "It means," my mom cut in, "your wife is worth $17 billion. I laughed, actually laughed. It was so absurd, it felt like a prank. "Okay, that's not funny." But neither of them were smiling. I looked back at Charlotte. "Is that true?" Her silence was the answer. My mind
for logic. $17 billion wasn't just rich. It was another planet. It was skyscrapers and oil fields and politicians returning your calls. It wasn't Costco and cracked taillights. Why? I asked, my voice breaking. Why would you hide that from me? Because I didn't want you to love me for that, she said. Love you for Charlotte I didn't even know. That was the point. My mom shook her head. You think that makes this better? You married my son under false pretenses. I married him because I loved him, Charlotte shot back, the first flash of anger breaking through. Then why the divorce papers? I demanded. Charlotte's face hardened. Because your mother hired a private investigator 6 months ago. The air left my lungs. I turned to my mom. You did what? She deserved to be checked out, my mom said defensively. No family, no history, no transparency. That's not normal. Charlotte laughed, but it wasn't warm. Your investigator uncovered my assets, my corporate filings, offshore structures, everything. And, I asked, my head spinning, and once that information became compromised, she said, my legal team insisted on restructuring my personal liabilities, including our marriage. It took a second to land. You're saying, I said slowly, you're divorcing me because my mom found out you're rich. I'm saying I can't be legally vulnerable, she said. If information about my net worth spreads in the wrong circles, it creates leverage, risk, exposure. Exposure to what? I yelled. She didn't answer. In that moment, something inside me cracked, not because she was rich, not even because of the divorce papers, but because I realized I didn't actually know the woman I'd built my life around. All those nights we stayed up talking about kids, all those mornings making coffee in our kitchen, were those real, or was I just some carefully selected husband from a safer tax bracket? Was any of this real? I asked quietly. Charlotte's face softened, and that almost made it worse. Every single day with you was real, she said. Then why does it feel like I was auditioning for a role I didn't know existed? The backyard door slid open. Our friends were starting to notice something was wrong. I could hear whispering.
My 35-year-old wife stood in our dining room, billionaire heiress, serving me divorce papers on her birthday because my mother dug too deep. And somehow, I was the only one who didn't see any of it coming. I looked at Charlotte one last time and realized the scariest part wasn't the money. It was that there was an entire world around her I'd never been allowed to enter, and I had no idea what else she was hiding. I didn't sleep that night. After everyone left, after the whispered apologies and the awkward hugs, and my mom's tight little, "I did this for you," I sat alone in the dark living room staring at the divorce papers on the coffee table like they were radioactive. Charlotte had gone upstairs hours earlier. I could hear faint movement above me at one point, then silence. Our house felt unfamiliar. Every photo on the wall suddenly looked staged. Our wedding picture in Napa, us in matching flannels at a pumpkin patch, the framed blueprint from the first house I ever managed as a project lead that she'd surprised me by hanging in her office. $17 billion. I kept saying it in my head like repetition would make it less insane. I tried Googling her name around midnight. Nothing. Not a single article. No Forbes list. No business features. It was like she didn't exist in that world publicly. That scared me more. Around 3 a.m., I went upstairs. She was awake, sitting in bed with the lamp on, legs tucked under her. No mascara, no birthday glow, just tired. "Are you really divorcing me?" I asked. She didn't hesitate. Yes. The directness hit harder than if she'd cried. "Because my mom hired a PI? Because the confidentiality barrier was broken," she said carefully. "Once someone outside my control accessed that information, my attorneys classified our marriage as a vulnerability." "Our marriage," I repeated, the word tasting bitter. She rubbed her temple. "James, you don't understand the scale of what I'm managing." "Then explain it." She studied me like she was weighing whether I could handle it. "My family's company operates through layered holdings: energy, defense contracts, biotech investments, data infrastructure. We don't put our name on anything. We buy controlling interest quietly. We move capital through jurisdictions designed to minimize visibility." I stared at her. "You're talking like a Bond villain." She almost smiled. "It's not dramatic, it's strategic. And where do I fit into that strategy?" Her jaw tightened. "You were never part of the strategy. That's why I married you." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "You were normal," she said softly. "You had your own life, your own career. You didn't come for money. You weren't trying to climb into it. So you picked me because I was safe?" "I picked you because you were real." There it was again. Real. like I was some grounding exercise for her alternate universe. Did your legal team know about me from the beginning? I asked. Yes. And they were okay with it? They weren't thrilled. That twisted something in my chest. So I was approved. She didn't respond. I sat on the edge of the bed. What happens now? The divorce will be discreet. You'll receive a settlement. I let out a hollow laugh. A settlement? Wow. It will be substantial. I don't want your money. Her eyes flashed. It's not charity. It's legal protocol. Legal protocol? I stood up. I don't care about protocol. I care about my wife deciding I'm a liability. You are, she said quietly. The honesty was brutal. In my world, she continued, information is leverage. Your mother's investigator pulled corporate filings that required multiple shell layers to uncover. That means the firewall isn't airtight. If one private contractor in Denver can trace it, others can too. Others like who? She looked at me, and for the first time I saw fear. Not for herself, for me. You don't want to know. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about embarrassment or pride. It was about something bigger, something dangerous. Are we in danger? I asked. You are, she said. The room felt suddenly smaller. Because of me? I asked. Because of proximity. Silence swallowed us. You could have told me, I said finally. You could have trusted me, she swallowed. Trust isn't the issue. Containment is. I hated that word. The next morning, her lawyers arrived at our house. 2 men and a woman in tailored suits who looked like they stepped out of Manhattan, not suburban Colorado. They didn't introduce themselves with last names. They spoke in calm, polished tones. They presented documents. They explained timelines. 30 days. That's how long it would take to dissolve my marriage. They'd already drafted an NDA for me, a lifetime confidentiality agreement regarding her net worth, corporate affiliations, and family structure. If I violated it, the financial penalties were astronomical. I didn't sign up for this, I said. One of the men looked at me evenly, with respect. You did. Charlotte stood near the window, arms crossed, watching everything like she was already separate from it. What about the house? I asked. It will be transferred to you, the woman said. Mortgage cleared. And my job? My life? That remains yours. That line stuck with me. Remains yours. Like everything else had been on loan. When they left, I turned to Charlotte. Is this what your whole life is? Controlled exits and liability management? Her face softened for a second. I didn't plan on falling in love. Then why are you acting like you didn't? She walked over slowly, stopped a foot away from me. If I stay married to you after this breach, I put a target on your back. From who? She hesitated. My father's competitors. You told me you were estranged. I am. The word hung there. Estranged doesn't mean disconnected, she added. That was the first time she mentioned him directly. Is he alive? I asked. Yes. And he knows about me? Yes. A chill ran down my spine. Does he approve? Her lips pressed together. He doesn't involve himself in my personal life. That's not what I asked. She looked away. That was answer enough. 3 days later, I saw something that made everything worse. I was cleaning out her office downstairs. She'd already started packing up personal items to move into an apartment downtown temporarily. I opened a drawer I'd never touched before. Inside was a thin file with my name on it. My full name. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Background checks, financial history, psychological assessment from when I'd applied for a federal construction contract years ago. Notes, observations, even comments about my relationship with my mother. There was a section labeled risk evaluation. Low ambition for political exposure, strong family attachment, moderate emotional reactivity, high loyalty index, high loyalty index. I felt like I'd been punched. When she came home that evening, I was sitting at the kitchen island with the file open in front of me. She froze when she saw it. You evaluated me, I said. It was standard. I'm not a stock option. Her face tightened. It was before we got engaged. You ran a psychological profile on me before proposing. My security team did. Security team, I repeated, laughing under my breath. I needed to know you weren't vulnerable to coercion. Coercion from who?
Your secret billionaire enemies? Yes. The way she said it so calmly almost made me believe it was normal. Was any of this about love? I asked. Her eyes glistened. More than you know, because right now it feels like I was a well-vetted accessory. That hit her. I saw it land. I chose you, she said. Not my lawyers, not my father. Me. And now you're unchoosing me. Her silence confirmed it. That night, she slept in the guest room. I lay in our bed alone, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our relationship. Every time she paid for dinner with a black card I never questioned. Every trip she'd arranged through a client. Every mysterious call she'd taken outside. I loved her. God help me, I still loved her. But the woman I loved had been running a parallel reality the entire time. And now I couldn't tell which version of her was real. The quiet wife who cried during dog rescue commercials? Or the billionaire strategist who classified me as a manageable risk? I didn't know which one was leaving me, or which one had ever really been mine. The house felt different after she moved out. Not emptier, just exposed, like the walls had been holding secrets and suddenly didn't know what to do without them. Charlotte relocated to a high-rise downtown. I didn't get the address from her. One of her attorneys handed it to me during a follow-up meeting for logistical coordination. That's what they called everything: logistical, structured, contained. The divorce moved fast, too fast. It felt like watching a time-lapse of your own life collapsing. I signed the NDA. I signed the property transfer. I signed documents agreeing not to pursue any claim against her holdings. I signed like a man who didn't recognize his own signature anymore. The settlement was obscene. 8 figures wired into a trust in my name. I didn't ask for it. It just appeared. My regular checking account still had the same modest balance I'd always kept. I couldn't bring myself to touch the rest. My mom called every day. I was right, she kept saying. I didn't want to hear that. Being right didn't fix anything. It didn't put my marriage back together. You saved me from what? I snapped at her once. Loving my wife? You don't know what kind of world she lives in, she shot back. She didn't let me. That was the part that kept looping in my head. She didn't let me. 2 weeks after she moved out, I got a call from an unknown number. New York area code. Mr. Lawson? The male voice asked. Yes. This is Daniel Mercer. I represent interests affiliated with the Aldrich Group. I'd never heard that name before, but something in his tone made my spine go rigid. What interests? I asked carefully. Your former wife's family. My grip tightened on the phone. What about them? We would like to meet. No, it's not optional. There was no threat in his voice. That made it worse. Why? I asked. A matter of clarification. The meeting was set for the following afternoon at a private club in downtown Denver I didn't even know existed. I had to Google the address twice. Tucked behind an unmarked entrance, no signage, just a polished brass door. I almost didn't go. But curiosity and anger are powerful motivators. Inside, everything smelled like leather and expensive whiskey. A hostess greeted me by name. That alone made my skin crawl. They led me to a back room. He was already sitting there. Charlotte's father. I'd never seen him before, but I knew instantly. Same sharp cheekbones, same controlled posture, same stillness when someone enters a room, like they're assessing the oxygen level. He stood when I walked in. James, he said. His voice was low, smooth, measured. Mr. Aldridge, I replied. We didn't shake hands. He gestured for me to sit. I won't waste your time, he said. You are no longer married to my daughter. That's correct. And yet your continued proximity presents a concern. I laughed under my breath. Proximity? I'm not exactly storming your board meetings. His eyes didn't move. Information moves in unpredictable ways. So what, this is a warning? It's a courtesy. That word again. Your marriage was an experiment, he continued. I felt something in my chest ignite. An experiment. My daughter has always had unconventional instincts. We allowed it. Allowed it? Yes. She loved me. He studied me like I was a case study. I don't doubt that she believed she did. The calmness in his voice made me want to flip the table. You think I was some kind of phase? I asked. I think, he said, folding his hands, that you represented normalcy, an escape. I wasn't an escape, I was her husband. For a time, the arrogance was suffocating. You know she's miserable, right? I said. Something flickered in his eyes, brief, controlled, gone. My daughter understands her responsibilities. Responsibilities to what? Owning half the planet? To protecting what generations build. I leaned forward. And what does that cost her? He didn't answer immediately. It costs everyone, he said finally. Silence settled between us. You had me investigated too, I said. Yes. And? You were acceptable. The word hit harder than I expected. Low threat profile, no political ambition, limited financial leverage, emotionally predictable. Predictable? Yes. You loved her. It wasn't a compliment. Is that why you're here? I asked. To tell me I passed? I'm here to ensure you understand the implications of disclosure. I signed the NDA. Yes. But emotion makes people careless. You think I'm going to sell her secrets to the highest bidder? I think heartbreak makes people irrational. The implications stung because part of me wanted to hurt her the way I felt hurt. I'm not that guy, I said. I know. He reached into his jacket and placed a thin folder on the table, smaller than the one Charlotte had kept on me. This is a courtesy as well, he said. I didn't touch it. What is it? An overview of the threats my daughter faces. Why show me that? Because whether you like it or not, you were in her life.
You deserve to understand what she chose to shield you from. I opened it. Inside were summaries. Redacted, but enough to make my stomach drop. Attempted corporate sabotage, foreign acquisition battles, lawsuits that never make public record. A security incident in Geneva 2 years ago that resulted in personnel injury. No details. This is real? I asked quietly. Yes. She never told me any of this. She was protecting you. The word felt different coming from him. She's divorcing me to protect me? I said. He held my gaze. Among other reasons. What other reasons? He leaned back slightly. You made her vulnerable. The accusation was sharp. How? She began prioritizing you over strategic decisions. That's called love. It's called distraction. Anger flared through me. So you pushed her to file? I advised her. Of course you did. She made the final decision. That hurt more than if he'd admitted forcing her. You don't get to rewrite this as some noble sacrifice, I said. She could have told me the truth. She could have let me decide if I wanted that risk. She did decide, he replied. For you. I closed the folder. Tell her something for me, I said, standing up. He didn't move. Tell her I would have stayed.
His expression didn't change, but I saw something shift. Maybe respect, maybe regret. I will, he said. As I walked out of that club, the weight of everything pressed down on me. She hadn't just been hiding money. She'd been hiding a war. And I'd been living in the calm eye of it, completely unaware. For the first time, I questioned something deeper. What if the divorce papers at her birthday weren't just about exposure? What if someone else had been watching? What if my mother's private investigator hadn't been the only one digging? Because if one thing was clear after meeting her father, it was this. $17 billion doesn't sit quietly. It attracts predators. And now that I knew the truth, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd already been marked.